Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
We're now 1 day into a year-long pilot program where police will be testing for drugged driving.
While law enforcement sees this as a new tool to keep highways safe, some attorneys see it overreach by police. 24-hour News 8's Spartan Dieters spoke to a legal expert and has our story new tonight.
Well, Sue and Brian, police tell me that so far the handful of officers on the streets trained to use the testing equipment have not used it in the first 24 hours. But attorney Bruce Block says whoever does get offered the test should just say, "None for me, thanks."
Unfortunately, over the last year, we've seen a huge increase in the amount of fatal driving crashes involving impaired drivers.
Why there has been an increase could be because of an increase in drug use coupled with an increase in testing. Now the police will be using a mouth swab that will test saliva for drugs.
It tests for amphetamines, methamphetamines, benzodiazepines, cannabis or THC, cocaine, and opiates.
It's a test program involving 26 specially trained officers in 5 counties, including Kent and Berrien. So far, only the state police have been on the road with the program in Kent County. 4 Grand Rapids and 3 Kent County drug recognition experts are expected to be out on the road soon.
These police officers are specifically trained. They go through a 2-week training course.
But attorney Bruce Block is not exactly impressed with their credentials.
Now, whether you're impaired or not, well, I suppose that's up to this so-called expert to decide. The problem is he's not an expert. In his mind, everybody's impaired. He's certified by the International Association of the Chiefs of Police. You know, who?
Like a breathalyzer test that checks for alcohol levels, the driver can refuse.
If you don't agree to it, it's a civil infraction with a $200 fine.
It's not unconstitutional to take an oral fluid swab. It's actually less invasive than actually taking blood from a person.
If you refuse it, though, can't they still arrest you?
They can.
They can, yeah.
But they're going to have to justify it. I have advised client after client, including my friends and relatives and wife, don't take it.
Now, Block says there's also a significant possibility that legal drugs can give a false positive leading to a blood test. Also, unlike breathalyzer tests, the drug tests did not show how impaired someone is, only if they have drugs in their system, which is enough to result in a DWI charge. Of course, police will say if you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to worry about. In studio, Spartan Dieters, 24-hour News 8.
Michigan State Police Program to Drug Test Drivers Encounters Blowback from Lawyers. By Michael Jackman, November 21, 2017 at 3:32 p.m. Police may be asking some drivers to have their saliva tested for drugs in a pilot program being rolled out in 5 Michigan counties, including Washtenaw. And the program has some attorneys hopping mad. The program was established into law by the state legislature last year, and a year-long test program of the new approach began November 8 in Berrien, Delta, Kent, St. Clair, and Washtenaw counties. This will not be blanket testing, police say. Police will have to detect drivers who are under the influence the way they always have. But if they suspect the driver is impaired by drugs, they can request assistance from 27 drug recognition experts on the staff of state and local police contingents or with program-affiliated sheriff's offices. In order to get around constitutional protections, police will ask for saliva samples. If given consent, the appropriate expert will conduct the saliva test, slipping the sample into an Allura DDS2 oral fluid test instrument. Within minutes, the device presents its findings on a color monitor. The gizmo looks for 6 substances: amphetamines, benzodiazepines, cocaine, methamphetamines, opiates, and THC. Michigan State Police Special Lieutenant Jim Flegel said police have seen a huge increase in the amount of fatal crashes involving impaired drivers. In Michigan, according to police statistics, drug-related traffic accidents are the highest in a decade. Michigan State Police data show accidents involving drug use grew from 1,581 in 2006 to 2,215 in 2015, an increase of 40%. But several Michigan attorneys have objected to the project, and some have told reporters that anybody asked by police if they'd care to have their saliva tested should refuse the offer. Bloomfield Hills attorney Neil Rockine told MLive, "The legal system and law enforcement wants it to be fast and perfect. Science is not fast. Developing scientific techniques and perfecting those techniques typically takes years and years, and science is never perfect." Attorney Bruce Block told a Grand Rapids TV channel, "Those asked about taking the test should say no. You have someone who is a so-called expert who has 72 hours essentially of classroom and about 3 or 4 days of testing their theories," Block said. "Now whether you're impaired or not, why, I suppose that's up to this so-called expert. The problem is he's not an expert in his mind, everybody's impaired. If you don't agree to it, it's a civil infraction with a $200 fine," Block said, presenting the significant possibility that legal drugs can result in a false positive. "If you voluntarily agree to the saliva test, you've just waived your right to get a speeding ticket and be on your way," Block said. East Lansing attorney Mike Nichols called the testing technology risky in an interview with TV News and suggested drivers take the $200 civil infraction instead of the swab test. That news report pointed out a field evaluation of the device in the Journal of Analytical Toxicology that found a 24% failure rate. As others have noted, false positives can be caused by such innocuous and legal substances as ibuprofen, nasal decongestants, sleep aids, even poppy seed bagels. Nichols advises drivers to take the $200 civil infraction rather than submit to this oral fluid roadside test. Nichols, who is also certified as a drug recognition expert, raises a good point, that drugs work differently than alcohol, and to try to make it simple, and analogize it to alcohol, it's wrong. Unlike alcohol, which appears in the blood in much the same concentration it does in the brain, different substances have varying pharmacological qualities, are metabolized differently, cross the blood-brain barrier differently, especially medical marijuana. Even the highway safety advocates at We Save Lives have said, blood is a terrible surrogate for learning the amount of THC in the brain. It's used because we blindly follow the precedents set by alcohol, perhaps even believing the pot lobby's mantra that marijuana should be regulated like alcohol. Needless to say, it does not inspire much optimism that one of the groups backing the program is the Coalition to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, which seems to fully embrace zero-tolerance policing while hoping for the best. The idea that in 72 hours we're going to make a police officer a doctor or a physician's assistant or a medical professional, Nichols said, that's a horrible prospect to me. Recent news reports underscore the challenges of entrusting medical evaluation to police, especially when suspects have epileptic seizures, diabetic shock, or other issues. Take the case of a cop in Buckeye, Arizona, a trained drug recognition expert who tackled and arrested an autistic 14-year-old 2 months ago. Last month, the ACLU of Georgia blasted drug recognition expert programs, declaring that the program had never been independently and rigorously validated and that the protocol requires officers to perform medical examinations to detect drug influence without having relevant medical training, and it leads officers to believe they have a special ability to detect marijuana use without concrete evidence.
But also a cheek swab.
Down on drugged drivers. We first alerted you about this last night on Action News at 11. Right away, a whole lot of you started asking questions. You want to know what happens if you use prescription drugs and then you get stopped and tested? Well, 7 Action News reporter Jennifer Ann Wilson's live with some of the answers you're asking. Jennifer?
Yeah, well, first off, many of you wanted to know, is this drug testing going to be random? No, it's not. But if you're seen swerving in the road, if you blow through a stop sign or break any other traffic law, you could be pulled over. And if you are, you could be asked to submit to not only a breathalyzer, but also a cheek swab aimed at detecting a wide variety of controlled substances.
Yes, I say crack down. Yes, I want to be safe too.
Deborah Ritz applauds the MSP's efforts, but she says she's worried.
I use medibles, I use lotions, I use oils.
Ritz has a medical marijuana license which allows her to legally use a drug that stays in her system long after the effects have worn off.
There's no real way when they swab you to tell when is your last encounter with marijuana. So, I mean, that's a real danger for people like me.
Ritz lives in Washtenaw, one of the 5 counties chosen for the MSP oral drug test pilot program based upon the number of past impaired driver crashes and arrests. MSP says drivers like Ritz would only be drug tested if there were other signs of impairment.
If you're drunk, you smell like booze, you got blood, watery eyes, you're swaying back and forth. If you're under the influence of narcotics, your pupils may be very narrow. You may be wandering around, not coherent.
Specially trained DRE officers will administer the cheek swab test along with agility tests.
You see people doing the finger to thumb and the finger to your nose and, the alphabet.
The cheek swab can detect marijuana, cocaine, heroin, even prescription drugs.
Just because a doctor prescribed it to you and you go out there and you kill a family of 4 because you're under the influence, that's not going to get you out of what your responsibility is.
I guess just we're going to have to be more cautious.
Now, in a Facebook Live earlier today, I had a lot of questions about those prescription drugs. And the bottom line is, if you have a controlled substance your doctor has prescribed to you, if you've taken it and you get into a car accident, you could potentially be charged with driving under the influence. So it's very important you consult with your doctor. And when in doubt, turn over the keys. Do not drive. And one other question a lot of people are having is, what if you say no to that cheek swab? Similar to the breathalyzer, you can get fined and then taken into custody until they're able to get a warrant to go ahead and take that cheap swab anyway. Jennifer Ann Wilson, back to you.
A lot of good information to know. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for explaining it. I take a go.
Hey, Charlotte County. This is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago. And so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too, because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, if I got you know, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now. You know, $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.